I would like to introduce Dr. Susan S. Fiorito, who is the founding director of the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship. And Dr. Fiorito has taught at the university level since the early 1980s and received her doctorate from Oklahoma State University, completing her dissertation on the financial performance and marketing strategies of selected small apparel stores. She has owned and operated apparel and leather goods stores in Atlanta from the mid-1970s until 1980. And Dr. Fiorito has received 3 university teaching awards and is one of the 3 inaugural Jim Moran Institute faculty fellows. So,
I better not touch anything. I'll go on my tiptoes. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to welcome you here to the 7th annual 7 Under 30 Speaker Series. Before we get going, I'd like to thank our speakers for being with us today. We are so proud of this group of innovators and particularly delighted, of course, that they are all FSU graduates. And actually, they're from 6 different colleges: College of Law, Social Science, Business, Criminology, Psychology, and Human Sciences. This shows the commitment and dedication of Florida State University to growing the entrepreneurial ecosystem across campus. The first 7 Under 30 event was started by the Jim Moran Institute in 2012 by Dr. Randy Blass, with the input of students interested in entrepreneurship. It's so great to see this program continue to grow, and especially wonderful for us to be able to bring back this wonderful alumni. We know that although virtually every profession demands a certain level of entrepreneurial thinking, very few students actually gain entrepreneurial training and experience before they graduate. Whether you dream of starting a tech company, a social enterprise, a nutrition business, or apparel boutique, the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship will inspire and prepare you by providing a rich curriculum for both entrepreneurship majors and minors, an environment that promotes entrepreneurial thinking, hands-on learning, and real-life experience through business mentoring, networking, and internships. Our goal is really to give students the opportunity to learn fundamental business practices that will enhance their career potential and show students at Florida State University what is possible in the entrepreneurship area after they graduate. We believe students really benefit from hearing from young entrepreneurs like those we have today. I know you are eager to hear from this amazing group of alums, so to move along, I would like to thank very much Wendy Plant, the director of our Center for Student Engagement, Caitlin Simpson, who is a coordinator for student engagement, and both of them for organizing this great event. Wendy and Caitlin are responsible for the day-to-day development and management of student activities outside the classroom. These include business plan competitions and events supported by the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship. I hope you get a chance to get to know Wendy and Caitlin. Now please welcome Wendy back, and let's give her a hand for all that she and Caitlin have done.
thank you. Thank you, Susan. So like Susan said, this is a very exciting time to be involved in entrepreneurship at FSU with the new Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship, just in its 2nd year now. Jim Moran's vision and commitment to helping students and businesses and the generous donation from his widow, Jan Moran, and the Jim Moran Foundation has made all of this possible. Today also marks a milestone for this event. This is the 7th year we've been able to bring you 7 successful entrepreneurs who started their businesses before the age of 30, and the first year we are holding it in this wonderful new building, which was donated by Brian and Catherine Ballard, who are in the beautiful new building just next door to us, with a new restaurant coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. It should be really nice. Our panel today consists of alumni from disciplines across campus, like Dr. Fiorito said, and we're excited to show you the variety of businesses that came out of their experiences here. So now I'd like to introduce you to our MC for today's program, Akash Thakor. Akash is a senior majoring in commercial entrepreneurship in the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship. He's from Fort Lauderdale, and Akash currently works for Ultimate Software as a cloud application engineer, and he sells precious stones on the side. In his free time, he enjoys meditating and collecting shoes, which I found a very interesting hobby. Check out his shoes as he comes up here because they are indeed unique. So we're looking forward to Akash running the show today.
Awesome. How's everyone doing tonight? Good, we should be great. That's me, by the way. Hi. All right, so to begin this wonderful night, we're going to start with Christy Chirinos. Christy Chirinos is one of the co-owners of Caldera Labs, makers of Caldera Forms, a drag-and-drop web application building extension for the world's leading content management systems. Christy is passionate about information access and supporting open source technologies to make tech work for everybody. She has spoken on sustainable open source business models at conferences around the nation, as well as the United Nations headquarters in New York City, at World Camp Europe in Belgrade, Serbia, and at Press for Word in Tel Aviv, Israel. Before Caldera Labs, she worked at B-Space NYC, an incubator for nonprofit organizations in New York City that funded the Malala Fund, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Her role on the incubator staff was to help the startup nonprofits with their technology questions. Chrissy received Master of Business Administration degree from FSU, specializing in information systems management, as well as her Bachelor of Science in Economics with a minor in information technology. Please welcome Chrissy Chirinos.
Thanks for the introduction, Akash. Hi, everybody. How are you today? It's exciting to be the first act of the day. So like Akash said, I majored in economics. Are there any economics majors in here? 1, 2. Cool. Just economics or economics and something else? Like, how much of a nerd are you? I was like a real nerd, like just economics, like econometrics. Like, this is so cool. Look at all these graphs. Yeah, I had this idea that I wanted to be a public policy economist. That's why I came to FSU. This is after my mom vetoed Rockstar. So fine, public policy economist. And so I started doing that and went through a lot of transition, as I'm sure a lot of you may have, as you started doing your classes and maybe thinking, maybe this isn't right, and started looking at private sector economics, started looking at banking, started looking at all different options that come up when you start taking classes and thinking about where your future could go. And I ended up working as a bank teller at Bank of America on Stadium Road, like next to the stadium, which was great because we got free parking for all the football games. And that wasn't the only perk, but that was definitely one of the big ones. And when I started working there, I became really passionate about students and how they manage their money. Or didn't manage their money, right? I saw all kinds of crazy things. I saw checks written in pencil. I saw people who were coming in every single week with their account overdrawn. And I was just so shocked to think that people aren't getting this kind of basic education that is so important for the rest of your life, right? Like, how do you build your credit? How do you do all these things? And so I came up with this idea to create an app to teach young people about personal finance. Many years later, I can tell you, like, if you have an app idea, it's probably a bad idea. I mean, some of them are really good, but a lot of them are already done, and we can talk about that more during the reception if you'd like. But this was the idea I had, and I was really passionate about it, but I was an economics major, so I didn't know the first thing about building apps, so I learned to build apps. And then I didn't know the first thing about how to build a website to promote that app, so I learned to make a website. And that's how I met my now business partner in Caldera Labs. I went through, I entered a couple of the things that are available here at FSU for you, like innovation. If anybody's entered that, yeah. Digitech, a couple of these things for student entrepreneurs, and it was good. And I had a good time, and I always had this change the world kind of attitude when it came to my projects. So when I graduated, I moved to New York and continued to work in this change the world kind of environment. This is what I wanted to do. But I had built all these skills through being a student entrepreneur. And I had met a ton of really cool people. And so while I was living in New York City doing all this really cool change the world work, my business partner called me up. He was still here, but he was about to move back to Pittsburgh. And he said, I want to start a software company, and I need somebody to help me run it. I don't want to do this on my own. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm working on change the world stuff in New York, professional do-goodery. And so we did it. And over nights and weekends, we started working on this company called Caldera Labs. We started working on a product that would automate A/B tests on websites. So if you have a client, you want to know whether the color red or the color blue works better, you A/B test it. And eventually, we worked on a handful of other products until we really zoned in on Caldera Forms. Caldera Forms, the flagship product of Caldera Labs, and it's a drag-and-drop web application builder. So if you are a business and you have a very specific information need, you need to, say, collect registrations for a summer camp that you're doing, and then all of those people need to submit payments, and they need to give me all the names of their children, and then they need to be sent emails and updates. Then the kids need to be tracked, and we need to catch their attendance every day. People use Caldera Forms to deploy a website that can take care of all of these complex data needs without a lot of code in a secure, mobile-friendly, and accessible to people with disabilities. That's what we're currently doing. Caldera Forms is completely open source, and we are having a lot of fun doing it and still going through this strange and exciting and twisty path of getting there while still doing change the world-ish work. Today, Caldera Labs has grown from what we started doing it. I always love to tell people in our first 3 months of business, we made $300. And we made a lot of big decisions for the business. We decided that we liked that because after 2 years in business, we were approached by investors, and we looked at that option, and we looked at the growth that we had created, and we said, actually, we want to stay small. And we want to own all of our business. We want to do whatever we want to do. We don't want our business to be negatively judged by our 25-year-old female owner. And these are the decisions that we have been taking forward. Today, Caldera Forms powers over 100,000 websites online. It has been downloaded 1.5 million times by people who have tried it out. There's a free version online. We employ a staff of 7, and we are now opening an office. And we still own 100% of our business. We are scaling up on our own revenues and making sure that we retain control of what we're doing, what our goals are, and what our values are in the business. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk to you. That's a little bit of my story. I hope I didn't miss anything. And I hope that you're inspired by everybody else here as well.
Thank you so much, Christy. Next, we have Brad Buckenheimer. Brad Buckenheimer is an experienced restaurant owner with a demonstrated history of working in the restaurant industry. He is skilled in food and beverage, entrepreneurship, new restaurant openings, growth strategies, and small business development with strength as an operations professional with a Bachelor of Science focused in consumer merchandising, retailing management from Florida State University. His portfolio includes brands with annual gross sales of $5 million plus and annual increases of 2 to 4%. Please welcome Brad Buckenheimer.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? My name is Brad Buckenheimer. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I was a graduate 2004 of FSU. I own Caldera Cafe, Merv's, and the Lunchbox with a new concept on the way at Proof Brewing Company called Proper, which is going to be a brew pub and catering space. So a little bit about me. Again, I came here from college from 99 to 2004. I had the honor and privilege of having Dr. Fiorito as a professor along with some other great professors like Mr. Mack. I'm sure you guys know him. And, I was formerly a business major, and then I got advised at the time that maybe you might want to shift into fashion merchandising, and that kind of threw me off. I didn't want to have anything to do with fashion, let alone merchandising part of it, but once I got in there and met Mr. Mack, and he kind of showed me different ways we could think outside the box, I ended up getting an internship in Los Angeles, working in the music industry, which was really important. Like Christy, I wanted to maybe try my chops as a professional musician or get into acting or something arts related. So I made it out to Los Angeles. But all during college, I always worked in restaurants. I loved it. I really thrived on that setting, meeting people, talking with everybody, the pace, the fast pace of the environment and things like that. So when I was out there and I had no money and I was on an internship and they offered me a paid position and it still wasn't enough money. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just go back to waiting tables and tending bar and everything else like that. So I was moonlighting doing that. And eventually it got to the point where I realized that, my time in California was a great learning experience, but I had to tail between my legs, move back home with my parents, which maybe half of you guys might do. I hope not, but it's not as bad as everybody says it is. I immediately moved in and I moved right back out. And then I kind of went through like a quarter life crisis is what I call it in reflection, where, some of you might get into a situation where you graduate and then you're like, what do I do? We've talked several times in our dinner last night, and also you might hear some people speak about it today, which is, you might fall out of love with your degree. It happens all the time. It happened to probably all of us, I would say, and not fall in love, but you just become passionate about all sorts of different things. And so don't be afraid of that. I have a good laugh when I come home after the dishwasher calls out and I'm covered in bacon grease and food and trash and gross stuff, and I look at my fashion merchandising degree on the wall and I think that really came in handy today, you know what I mean? So my partner, and I'll talk a little bit about partners as well. I have a business partner. We met 20 years ago. We were both 18 years old. He's has and always will be my best friend, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, but I love having a partner. It's the absolute best. I'm very right-brained, very creative, and I love making the menus up. I have different roles in the business that I play, and my partner does all the stuff that I hate, like anything number-related, and just really dollars and cents type stuff, detail-oriented, things like that. Some of the folks you'll hear speaking today have a partner and some don't. I love it because we like to bounce things off each other. It's a very yin and yang relationship. He was pre-med, so you want to talk about not using your major. He was pre-med, and we ended up buying the Lunchbox, which is on Mahan and Magnolia. We worked there in college, and they had to sell it on the fly, and he bought it, called me up. I was thinking I was going to find out how he did on his MCATs. Instead, he said, I bought the Lunchbox. And I was like, you're crazy. And so he convinced me to move back. He said there's a really good market for breakfast. I was spinning my wheels in the restaurant industry, and that was pretty much what brought me back to Tallahassee. I had some reservations. I didn't want to come back. I kind of felt there was a regression in that sense. But thank God I did, because I learned more about myself moving back than I ever did in college. So when we opened our first location on Monroe Street, has anybody, you all live here and go to school, Caldera Cafe, you've all heard of it? Okay. If not, no, I'm just kidding. So we did our first location in 2007. I was like 24 years old. I didn't know anything. I mean, I did, but I didn't, as far as I'd always worked in restaurants, but owning it is a completely different monster, obviously. But, as far as entrepreneurship goes, one thing that I think back on all my time building the business, which was all the mistakes I made. God, I did some stupid stuff. I'm not even going to admit, like, as far as, in hindsight, thinking about things that I did and would have done differently. Your mistakes you make are going to be your biggest learning strategies, and also people are like, oh, I should do this. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't, because I've done it. So don't make that mistake. Learn from others. There's times that I'm advised still by colleagues. I talk to my colleagues and other restaurant owners and bar owners constantly because we find that we encounter different things in our day-to-day that might come up in somebody else's life, you know what I mean? So I love the industry. We have 4 canopy roads in town. We have a letter of intent to do a 5th, and we're also expanding outside of the market in Jacksonville, Tallahassee, and nobody's supposed to know, but I'm going to unveil it now. But Panama City is on the docket. Obviously, they had some issues over there, and we've done some charity work over there, so I'm over there quite a bit. But the goal is to go Panama City and then over to Miramar and Destin area, where some of the folks here vacation, and so to build brand awareness. I still like coming up with different concepts, even though canopy is my bread and butter, and I love it so much. It's like my first child, so to speak. But I seem to not be able to stop having children, so to speak, you know what I mean? So we've got, the brew pub at Proof that's going to be open soon, and then we have another concept that's going to come to market, which is a salad and bowl, fresh, fast, casual concept. So, as far as other things I would suggest as far as what I've learned, if you guys have ever read Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I highly recommend it. He talks about something that Edgar Dale, who's a professor at Arizona State University, he talks about the cone of learning. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about it, but Google it. Basically, it talks about retention of knowledge and how if you read something or see something on TV, you might not retain it as much as doing it yourself. And sometimes when you're talking about entrepreneurship and stuff, you might have reservations. You might sit there and make business plans and talk yourself out of it. And they call that what I call paralysis analysis. And you can sit there and analyze it and analyze it and analyze it and talk yourself out of it. But what I would recommend, if any of you are interested in doing your own business, not even in a hospitality sense, but, all these people are in different lines of work, but they're all working for themselves. Just jump right in. Do it. Do as much research as you can. And don't be afraid to ask for questions. Don't be afraid to ask your faculty here for help because they are very, very smart and talented people and care very much about all of you. So I appreciate you guys letting me have this opportunity to speak to you. And I look forward to meeting you guys after. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad. You the man. So, our third speaker of the night is Ashley Kline Cagle. Ashley is an entrepreneur from Wellington, Florida, with focus in merchandising, business consulting, and digital marketing within the equestrian lifestyle community. Her background in merchandising led her to start a blog, equestrianstylist.com. After FSU, she worked at Lilly Pulitzer as a part-time manager while she completed her MBA at Nova Southeastern University. Post-graduation, she focused on growing her niche audience with equestrianstylist.com, which led to numerous international opportunities, including the Super Bowl of horse racing, the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Please welcome Ashley Kline Cagle.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for being here, and especially thank you to the School of Entrepreneurship. I have not been back to campus since almost 10 years, which is crazy, and so many things have changed, but had a great experience this morning just walking around campus, and just want to tell you guys are so lucky to be here, for real. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background and what I've done post FSU, but I'm going to emphasize 5 things. I was going to do 7, but too much. So how many of you guys have a passion that you've kind of grown up doing. You either played music or you play sports or something that you love that you're still doing today. Oh, wow. There's quite a few of you guys. Awesome. Well, my passion came from a little girl. I grew up horseback riding. I competed all over the United States. It's just one of those things that horses really are a part of me. So I knew I was never going to get that out of my blood. And with that, I learned to really love the style aspect of it. You know, every season we see riding boots come in. Every weekend I would put on my riding boots and go to the horse shows and groom my horse so that it looks so beautiful for the show. So really, I figured, how am I going to combine my equestrian love with fashion and make this a part of my business? So I came to FSU and I studied merchandising. I had a great time here. I ended up joining a sorority, Alpha Chi Omega, and I studied abroad with Dr. Fiorito and Mr. Mack, who, by the way, if you don't know them, which I'm sure you do, they are two of the most amazing professors here at the school, and wherever they are, they do amazing things. So definitely look up to them and listen to them, because they've really been a huge part of why I'm here. So with that, I built so many of these great relationships through the sorority, through the equestrian team. I did the National Retail Federation Challenge and worked with Ann Langston with that, and really decided I like connecting people. I like following my passion and connecting and building these relationships. So fast forward, I graduated at the worst time ever, 2009. You guys think that's forever ago, but the economy was at its worst. I was sitting in Mr. Mack's office and he tells us, your internships you're not going to this retail operation because they cut their internships. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna do? I have 3 weeks, I have to do an internship, and then what am I gonna do? Am I gonna be hired, am I not? So I didn't want to be reliant on a company for my career. I wanted to build my own path. So you've got passion, you've got relationships. And then I ended up going back to school to get my MBA. So I challenge you guys to really stay educated. Continue your business, but also keep learning. Go to conferences. Get your MBA if that's what you want to do. I mean, that's what I needed to do to give myself a little more confidence about starting a business. So as I went to school, I was working at home, living at home, and really, driving myself to save money. You'll hear a lot about that today. So if you can live at home and start your business, definitely do that. Go back to school and just keep learning. So after I graduated with my MBA, I was sitting at home and I thought, okay, I'm really going to do this, combine equestrian and fashion. And I knew I didn't want to start a store because retail was hurting. So I was at my computer looking up domain names, and I remember it so clear. I was like, Mr. Mack told me you're going to be an equestrian stylist. And when he told me that originally, I was like, heck no, that is not me. I'm not going to do that. I need to be bigger than that. And so I started the blog with equestrianstylist.com and really just started writing about everything with the industry, whether it was clothing or events or horse products. And I started meeting so many people just by doing my blog that it led me to so many connections. I ended up going to the Kentucky Derby recently with the biggest sponsor, Longines, and they put me up in the mansion, which is the best seats in the house. I even had Carson Kressley. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a big style icon. He came up to me and said he follows Equestrian Stylist. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So great things happened, and then one thing led to the other, and now I run a consulting company that consults businesses on the lifestyle of the equestrian world and then also helping equestrian businesses grow, whether that's in mainstream marketing or digital marketing. I just help companies, use the horses to sell things, because you all see in many ads, horses are in a lot of ads, and how to place horses with people and get the right shots. So with that, lastly, I will tell you guys, it's not always easy being your own boss. You don't have your professor or your manager constantly telling you you're doing a good job. So you have to be very self-motivated. But the other piece of that is never give up. Anytime I thought to myself, oh my gosh, am I doing this the right way? Am I really, going into the right field? Some opportunity would come around and it would just validate, yes, you are in the right place. Keep doing it. So again, entrepreneurship is about building your own success. Are you going to build someone else's success, or are you going to build yours? And with that, I think you guys all know the answer to that one. So thank you again, and I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you, Ashley. Such a great, attentive crowd we have today. I love it. I love it. I see the passion oozing out of all of you. Speaking of passion, up next, our next passionate individual is Angie Croft. There she is. Angie Croft is the creator and founder of Pop Goes a Party, LLC, Tampa's first and original gourmet cake, pop, and custom creative dessert company. She's a 2005 graduate of FSU with a double major in criminology and psychology, where she was an active member of Kappa Delta sorority and Phi Beta Sigma National Honor Society. Angie founded Pop Goes the Party LLC in 2011, when her passion for baking became a full-time business, largely in part to the new Florida Cottage Food Law, which allows small startup home-based food businesses established by the Florida legislature in 2011. Her work has been featured in Borrowed in Blue, Artfully Wed, Ella and Annie Magazine, The Mommy Spot Tampa, Tampa Bay Business Journal, Pint Sized Baker, Studio 10, Daytime TV, and the Now Tampa Bay. In 2014, Angie was named a finalist for the Up and Comer Award by the Tampa Bay Business Journal, and most recently, she was named a 2017 finalist for the Tampa Bay Businesswoman of the Year. Please welcome Angie Croft.
Good afternoon, you guys. Thanks so much for coming out. I have not been back to campus since the Florida State game in 2010. So I drove through today and I was like, where am I? This looks so different. So it is so great to be here. I love FSU. I've loved FSU since I was little. And I'm just so excited to share a little bit about my story with you. Show of hands, who in here knows today what you want to be when you grow up? Okay, who knew when you were a child what you wanted to be when you grew up? Awesome. So when I came to Florida State because I was going to be a federal agent, which is why I majored in criminology and psychology. So clearly that is where I ended up in my life. I graduated in 2005 with a degree in criminology and psychology. I was working for the governor's office in Tallahassee right here. And about a year into my job there, I transferred to the Tampa area and began working in nonprofit. And I spent a good amount, about 8 years in the nonprofit industry, doing everything from direct service with kids to fundraising. And a lot of what I did was relationship building. And so when I was just about 28, I had my first son. And I was home on maternity leave. And ever since I was a girl, I loved baking. I baked with my parents, my grandmother, on both sides, and aunts and uncles. I have a lot of different cultures in my background. And so since I was a small girl, especially around the holidays, I would always bake with my family. And so being on maternity leave and having some extra time, as much time as you can have with a newborn at home, I got into making cake pops, and it was kind of on a whim. I really just enjoyed the creative outlet. It was a piece that was missing in my professional career. I had done lots of really cool things in nonprofit, but I missed a creative outlet for me. And slowly but surely, people started to ask me to make stuff for their events. And in the beginning of 2011, I relocated from Dallas, Texas, to where I was living, to Tampa, Florida. And I couldn't find a job because the market was terrible for nonprofits. And so I decided that since people kept asking me to make them stuff, that I would maybe do a little research on starting my own business. So the two things I researched first was the Florida Cottage Food Law, which ironically had just passed in 2011, which allowed for home-based bakeries to establish themselves under a certain set of guidelines. So what I made fell under those guidelines. And the second thing I researched was what other bakeries offer this service in the Tampa market, and I could not find one. The closest thing I found was a bakery out of Boca Raton doing exactly what I wanted to do. And so that's kind of how the concept of my company was born. From then, it has just snowballed. It has allowed me opportunities and the opportunity to meet people and be part of certain events that I just never would have imagined. I did end up going back to work full-time in nonprofit. I had a second and then a third baby in 2017. And at that time, I was really at a crossroads. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week, being in nonprofit fundraising as an executive with a very large nonprofit. You were demanded to be accessible most of your life, into the nights, weekends. And so I felt very trapped. Like I could not balance my schedule with 2 kids at home and another one on the way, balancing my business at the same time while still working full time. And so at that time of my life, I decided, let me quit my job full time and take my business full time. And I have not looked back since. It has been probably one of the scariest decisions I ever made. I left a very stable career, a great job, health benefits, the whole 9 yards, to take this leap. And thankfully, through relationships that I had built, both in my nonprofit career and in my area where I lived, relationships that I had here at FSU, those really started to help my business evolve and become what it is today. And what I love about being my own boss is, thinking you're leaving a job where you work 60 to 70 hours a week. I probably work harder than I did then. But for me, the biggest piece of satisfaction I get, not only that I have my own company, but I have the flexibility and the freedom to be more present at home with my family, with my children, with my husband, and I can run my business how I want to do it. I don't have somebody telling me, you've got to be here and you've got to do this at, this weekend or this evening. I have the ability to make my own decisions. I can progress how fast or how slow I want to. And I think overcoming challenges, pivoting your way through your journey is important. The only thing that's constant, I think, in any job is change. But when you're your own boss and running your own business, that is something that happens that you've got to just be used to. When I was about 3 years into my company, one of the challenges we had was as a cottage food business, there was a sales cap put in place by the Florida legislator. And that was a problem for me because I had reached that sales cap, that revenue cap, and the next step would be to grow into a retail space. But the gap between the cost for that versus what I was bringing in was a big gap, and I was afraid of doing that. And so I went to research again. You do a lot of Googling when you own your own business. And I Googled Florida Cottage Food Law, and then I Googled cottage laws in other states, and I found that Florida's law was very restrictive. So I decided I wanted to change the law. So I met with a local representative, and 2 years later, we drafted legislation. A bill was passed last year, and it doubled the sales cap. So not only was my business impacted, but all kinds of cottage businesses across the state were impacted as well. And the economic impact for Florida was great. And so had I not been willing to take a leap and reach out to somebody that I had met once or twice in passing, that legislator that I had met through other relationships, I wouldn't have been able to make that change. I wouldn't have been able to make the security of my business growing more sustainable. And so I think for you guys, what I would say is you gotta have your passion, right? You gotta know what you love to do, but you gotta be prepared to work your butt off because it's not easy. And I think anything in life that's worth working for is gonna be an amazing experience. And so I wish you guys all the best of luck. You're in a great place to learn. And I look forward to talking with you guys after the reception. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Angie. So, next, we have Rosalyn Glover. Rosalyn Glover is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She owns Rose Gold, a boutique marketing agency. Rosalyn Glover. So, Rosalyn Glover is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. She owns Rose Gold, a boutique marketing agency, as well as an accessories boutique, Rose Rogue, which just launched in August. Above all, she is passionate about fashion and helping small businesses to grow their brand through social media. She believes that everyone should live a life that they feel passionate about. Please welcome Rosalyn Glover.
Hello, everybody. How many people out here want to be an entrepreneur? By show of hands, duh, right? How many people out here already are entrepreneurs? Oh, good. Of course, you guys. And if you aren't an entrepreneur, how many people out here can say that fear is the number one reason that's stopping them from starting a business? You can raise your hands, it's okay. All right. So I think I wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I heard the word entrepreneur. I remember being in middle school and we were learning about different professions, and it was something about that word, entrepreneur. And I said, you know what? That's what I want to be. Had no clue what profession, definitely did not have a love for fashion in middle school. However, I just knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Fast forward to high school, I learned how to sew, and that really ignited my love for fashion. That passion for fashion, right, led me here to FSU to major in fashion merchandising and product development with a minor in marketing. I had an amazing time while I was here at FSU. I was PR for DWF magazine. I joined Faces modeling troupe as fashion coordinator, and I even started a business while I was here at FSU. And then something happened. I graduated, and I hit the real world, and I got a quote-unquote real job, right? So I remember one specific moment at this job. I had just finished leading this team meeting, and I was like on top of the world. I was like, I just killed it. I crushed it. And then my manager called me into her office, and she sat me down, and I remember exactly what she said. She said, Rosalyn, this isn't something that I want to tell you, but it's something that I have to tell you. And that feedback was that I was just a little bit too outspoken for everybody, and they wanted me to turn it down a few notches. I remember my heart sinking into my chest, and I thought to myself, I don't want to do this. I did not want to be at a place that did not 100% allow me to be myself. Now, this isn't your typical entrepreneur story where I told her she could go screw herself and I quit my job and I started my business. It actually happened a very different way. Actually, 6 months after that conversation, the company had lost one of their largest clients. Due to this, half of the company was laid off, myself included. So as the rejects, as we so formally had dubbed ourselves, we're in the break room and we were kind of asking each other, what's next? What are you gonna do? What the hell just happened? I remember being in the corner and being like the happiest person in that room because I was like, this is my chance. I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. So as my friends and family began to ask me that daunting question, what's next? I began to answer with, I'm going to start a marketing agency. Fast forward 2 weeks after I did not have a job anymore, we had signed our first client. Granted, it wasn't for a lot of money at all. However, it was the seed that was planted that let me know that what I wanted to do was possible. It's been about a year and a half since then, and Rose Gold has gone on to work with over 40 clients. We've helped to launch 6 businesses, and we continue to do marketing for various events in the South Florida area. As if that was not enough, just this past August, I went on to start Rose Rogue, an online accessories boutique where we offer affordable accessories for the unconventional woman. Now, I can go on and on about my entrepreneur stories and tell you guys different things, but something tells me that if you're here today, you're not here to hear about me. You want to hear something that you guys can apply on your journey of entrepreneurship. So as I was thinking about that, I came up with 3 key things that I wanted to share with you all today. The first one, just start, right? I can't tell you how many people come to me and they think they need help with marketing or they need marketing to get their business off the ground when all they need is the courage to start their business. Yes, I understand how scary it can be to have something that you hold near and dear to you and to put it out into the world for it to be judged by everybody. However, if you don't start, you'll never learn the lessons that you need to be the entrepreneur that you want to be. The second one, go with your intuition. As I told you all, I was laid off, and my intuition was deeply telling me to start my own thing. Had I not gone with my intuition, I wouldn't be in front of you guys today. Another thing I witnessed with people that want to be an entrepreneur, they ask their family and their friends, what should I do? Do you think I should do this? Stop doing that. Your family and your friends cannot give you directions to a place that they have not been. A lot about being an entrepreneur is imagining the unknown and doing so. So stop asking for advice from your friends and your family. Of course, get it from your professors, right? And the third one being, and I really want you guys to listen to this, hone in on the feeling of having no fear. While I was here at FSU, it was truly a fearless time for me. You could not tell me anything while I was here at FSU. I can truly say I 100% lived out my college experience, and I hated hearing about the real world, but there is a real world when you graduate, right? And one thing that people did not tell me about being an entrepreneur is the debilitating fear that you feel almost every single day. Why? Because at the end of the day, everything falls back on you. Like I said, you're moving into the unknown. So many different things are going to happen that are going to make you fearful. But for me personally, when I have those moments of fear, I think back to a time where I was fearless. And I let those moments get me through to the next moment. Then fear is going to come again, and I'll let that get me to the next moment, right? So the first one, just start. The second one, go with your feeling of intuition. And the third one, hone in on the feeling of having no fear. Now, while I was here at FSU, we used to have these amazing RMPD dinners, right? So we used to rub shoulders with industry executives. It was an exciting time because it was our time to, maybe get a job or, get an internship. And I remember when I was thinking about how I'm going to wrap this up with you guys today, I remember there was a lady and she read a poem and it resonated with me so deeply. And as I was thinking about what I was going to say to you guys today, came across this poem, right? So what did I do? I went with my intuition and I said, somebody out here is going to need this the way that I needed it a few years ago. So here it is. The poem is entitled Dream Big. If there was ever a time to dare, to make a difference, to embark on something worth doing, it is now. Not for any grand cause necessarily, but for something that tugs at your heart. something that is worth your aspiration, something that is your dream. You owe it to yourself to make your days count, have fun, dig deep, stretch, dream big. Know, though, that things worth doing seldom come easy. There will be times when you want to turn around, pack it up, and call it quits. Those times tell you that you are pushing yourself and that you are not afraid to learn by trying. Persist. Because with an idea, determination, and the right tools, you can do great things. Let your instincts, your intellect, and let your heart guide you. Trust. Believe in incredible power of the human mind, of doing something that makes a difference, of working hard, of laughing and hoping, of lasting friends, of all the things that will cross your path. Next year, the start of something new brings the hope of something great. Anything is possible. There is only one you, and you will pass this way but once. Do it right. Thank you.
Beautiful poem. Thank you, Rosslyn. Rosalyn Rose Gold. You see what's going on there? I see it. All right. Next, we have Vince Cacchesi. Vince Cacchesi is the founder and CEO of Vertebrae Incorporated, an augmented and virtual reality firm based in Santa Monica, California. Vertebrae enables brands and agencies to tell stories leveraging the mediums of AR and VR at scale through its technology platform. A recognized digital marketing and AR/VR leader, Cacchesi regularly appears in national media, including CBS, Ad Age, USA Today, CNET, Adweek, and TechCrunch. In 2017, Cacchesi was named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in the marketing and advertising category, and was featured as one of Variety's 10 VR innovators to watch. Cacchesi speaks on topics of AR and VR at conferences like Forbes, CMO Summit, NAB, Integrated Marketing Forum, Sundance Film Festival, Elevate Brand Storytelling, and UCLA Big Data Conference, among others. In addition to Vertebrae, Cacchesi is a board member of Whoopi's Virtual Field Trip, a VR nonprofit he co-founded with Whoopi Goldberg, dedicated to providing wondrous virtual experiences to underserved and severely ill children. Please welcome Vince Cacchesi.
Hey everyone. I want to make this as helpful as possible, and I was thinking about all the things that I could share in 7 short minutes with you guys. So I'll give you a quick little background on me, some of the things that I think that I would find useful being in your shoes coming out of FSU and looking to do something entrepreneurial. So I was in the College of Business, majored in accounting and finance, started in 2009, graduated in 2013. Is anybody here in the College of Business? Cool. And then I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in starting your own businesses eventually, or working in startups or part of small companies. Cool. And then how about technology? Who's interested in working in technology? All right, we got some hands in the room. So Tallahassee is a difficult place to be involved with tech. It's very geographically isolated from New York, San Francisco, some of the big tech hubs. And that provides a little bit of a challenge coming out of here, but there's also some huge opportunities. So Tallahassee is one of the best places in the world. It's one of the most social universities in the world. You guys are more interesting than everybody that comes out of Harvard, Stanford, any of those places. That's what you have going for you. And so much of the value of what you can do here at FSU is in the power of your network and how willing you are to just go up and start conversations with people and just be naturally interested in the world and in what people have to say. And you don't know when a lot of times when you're just soaking up information, you don't know when you're going to find that information useful again. Maybe it has nothing to do with you, but there will always be some point in time where it comes back and you kind of find value in that. And so, one of the things that I've seen success with is just being a relentless networker. One of the ways I started my company was just spamming the shit out of LinkedIn. Are you guys on LinkedIn? So whatever industry that you're interested in, there's ways to use LinkedIn and to leverage a network and to get people to help you. So to give you a little bit of background on my story, I graduated in 2013. I did a Deloitte audit internship, which was one of the worst experiences of my life. Anybody tried that out? So I was finance and accounting major and minored in computer science. And that was actually really, really helpful because when I minored in CS, then I could go to the engineering career fair, and a lot of the tech companies started to have interest in me versus just having a business major. And so I took a job with General Motors that was based in Austin, Texas on their data analytics team. And so it was kind of this cool point at GM where they had just fired, I think, 10,000 IT consultants, and they were planning to hire 10,000 IT employees. And so me and a couple, probably 10 or 15 other people from FSU were some of the first people in the door. And they had just bought this like $64 million Teradata warehouse and all of these descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive reporting tools. And they just handed it to us, and they're like, go set it up across the company. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And so, that's fine. But really, like the value, one of the things that I would tell you if you're interested in starting your own thing, learn how to work first. So if you've never had a good manager before, it's really important to just know how to work, know how to get through a to-do list, to follow up with people, and to take on projects that you don't know how to do. Because if you start by yourself at the very beginning without having had a good boss, you don't learn a lot of that good work hygiene and the fundamentals and how successful organizations operate. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive being at an entrepreneurship thing, but it's been really, really helpful for me. So then I was at GM for a year and a half. I spammed the shit out of LinkedIn. I was interested in analytics, and I was helping a friend set up a music studio that's in Los Angeles right now. And I was looking at how do data and the entertainment industry kind of come together? Where are there opportunities to create analytics platforms based around entertainment data? Now, it's nothing like what I'm doing today, but I kind of just had to pick something and go with it to start to learn, and then you figure out why you're wrong 1,000 times over. I've failed more than everybody here, probably. I do on a daily basis. But what I kind of noticed was that I would find these lists online of like the Billboard Power 100, which was all these really important people that worked in the music industry or wherever. I'd literally just spam all of them. I'd say, hi, my name's Vince. I'm interested in this. I see you do this. Can we talk? And I built up an advisor base that way of people that I would have otherwise never been connected to because, like, for instance, one was the president of StubHub at the time. He's based in San Francisco. So these sorts of people you don't have the opportunity to meet here in Tallahassee, but you do have the opportunity to reach out to them wherever they are. And you can reach out to hundreds of people a day, and they think you're only reaching out to them. It's really easy, and it's a good way to connect with people that are, pretty far along in your specific industry, whatever you're interested in. So I did that. They helped me coach through a business plan, and then I had them as advisors. I got accepted to Capital Factory, which is an incubator accelerator in Austin. I didn't join that, but I used that to talk to some local angel investors in Austin. One of them was kind enough to give me a term sheet. I didn't accept it, but then I packaged up that whole story and I brought it to a corporate venture group back here in Florida. And I was able to say, look, I have this business plan, these advisors, this acceptance to this incubator accelerator, this term sheet, but I'm starting an AR/VR company. There's going to be a longer time horizon for this technology to take off. This is in late 2015. And I'm going to need a little bit more time. And so I need $10 million, pretty much. And so I started out with 3.5, we raised another 6.5, and then HTC came on as a strategic. But that was the way that I did it. And it was just all out of thin air. It wasn't because I was better than anybody at something. I'm not the best technologist in the room. I'm not the best salesperson in the room. I'm not the best product person in the room. But if you're just good at exploring something that you're interested in, and you're willing to just fail and connect with people and just keep reaching out and finding things that you're interested in, you can do a ton coming out of here. And then it also helps to be in some of those other regions. So if you're interested in tech, go to San Francisco for a summer, go to New York for a summer. Do something like that where you're immersing yourself in that space. Because one of the things we were talking about earlier, and I'm running short on time, was that the local meetups, the things that happen in those areas, there's so many people that attend those that are on the ground at seed A, B, C stage companies that are using all of the latest tools and methodologies, that know all the people that work within those companies. And it's really important for you to be able to network with them. And that is a slight disadvantage of being here in Tallahassee, is having access to them. So any way that you can do that, LinkedIn, online, I'm happy to help you. But those are some of the things that I've learned, and happy to answer any questions here in a bit.
Thank you, Vince. All right, so that was 6 so far. I don't know if anyone's been counting, but that was 6 for your information. So our 7th speaker is Nicholas Rossi. Nick Rossi is a founding member of Capital City Consulting, LLC, and has more than 19 years of experience working on local, state, and federal government issues. Nick holds a Bachelor of Science in Social Science and a JD from Florida State University, and is a member of the Florida Bar. After opening Capital City Consulting in 2003, Nick quickly earned the reputation as a knowledgeable and hardworking advocate, which has enabled him to serve Capital City Consulting's strong client base in both the legislative and executive branches of government. Nick is not only relied upon by his clients for counsel, but also by government leaders and candidates for office to provide information on policy and political issues. Nick has experience representing a variety of issues, ranging from financial services to agency rulemaking and general business issues. In addition to his government affairs practice, Nick has experience developing and managing strategic plans to accomplish client objectives through strategic alliances with third parties and coalitions, grassroots development, polling, and national, state, and local public relations. Please welcome Nicholas Rossi.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. It's really great to be going last today. Thrilled about that. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be in a room full of future entrepreneurs who are the fuel of not only Florida, but our national economy, and I think the lifeblood of this country. So entrepreneurs by nature are risk takers, are adventurous, are free thinking. So I applaud you for seeking this field. And I want to just tell you a little bit about some of my experiences in starting Capital City Consulting. I actually finished FSU, was student body president at FSU, so kind of got me the political bug while I was at FSU, continued on to law school, worked in the legislature for a couple of years, and then I decided that I wanted to practice law, and I wanted to run for office one day. So I got a job with a law firm to go practice law here in town, a major law firm, and on the first day, they asked if I'd be interested in doing some lobbying since I had worked in the Capitol. And I said, no, I don't want to be a lobbyist. I know lobbyists. I don't really like them very much. I'm not very interested in being one. They're like, well, we really think you'd be well suited for it, so why don't you do a mixed bag of law and lobbying? I said, I appreciate it, but I really don't want to lobby. So at 24 years old, I was pushing back on the managing partner day one that I did not want to be a lobbyist. Well, they stuck me in an office for 3 days, and as a first-year associate, you know exactly how many hours you need to bill in order to be profitable at the end of the year. And that's about 8 to 9 hours, billable hours per day, which means you're going to be in the office at least 10 hours a day. And as a first-year associate, all you do is you sit there and you write legal memorandums and do research. So I went in Monday and billed my 9 hours, went home, went in Tuesday, billed my 9 hours, went in Wednesday morning, walked back into that managing partner's office and said, I think I want to try lobbying. So They laughed, sent me over to the Capitol, and I never looked back. 2.5 years later, at 26 years old, back in 2003, me and a couple partners started Capital City Consulting. We've been going on for 15 years now and have grown it to one of the largest firms in the state. We have a large office here with about 15 employees, and we have an office in Tampa with 3 employees, and have continued to grow. And so there's some things that I've learned over the years that I guess I would impart upon you, because my story's not that interesting. I'm not selling a widget or a product. I'm selling a service. And so it's a little bit different business than some of you may be going into. But I think the lessons that you learn in these different industries all apply across the board. So I'll give you probably 8 of these, given the time that I have left, that I think are the most important ones for you to focus on that I've learned as I've gone through. So number 1, you don't have to do what you love, but you can love what you do. And my story is a perfect example of that. If I were to seek and do something that I love, I'd still be trying to struggle to play shortstop for the New York Yankees or be a Formula One driver for Ferrari, something along those lines. That is not going to work out. And sometimes, especially when you're starting out, you're not going to be able to do what you love. And it's great if you can find your passion. And you heard from a bunch of different people that went before me that they kind of knew what their passion was and they were seeking that out. I didn't really from the get-go. But you get into positions, you keep an open mind, and doors open up that are unexpected, and you learn to love something that you had never thought that you would love doing, which is what I'm doing now. I mean, I really love the line of work I'm in. So keep an open mind, learn to love what you do, and other doors will open up as you go along. This is a very important one, I think, and I'm, I guess, an eternal optimist, and I'm talking to a room full of optimists if you're entrepreneurial. So learn the power of positive thinking, because as you think, you shall become. And think about this for a second. Like attracts like. Like attracts like. If you walk down the street right out here on Monroe Street, and you're bopping along confident and smiling and saying hi to people as you go by, what are they going to do? They're going to pop up and smile at you and say hi back. Like attracts like. If you're a confident, positive, happy person, you're going to attract confident, positive, happy people to be around you. You're both going to make each other successful. If you're self-conscious, you're sad, you don't project confidence, you're going to project people, you're going to attract people around you like that. And that's not good for business. It's not good portrayal for your customers, for your clients, and it's certainly not good when you're trying to bestow confidence in your business. So learn the power of positive thinking. Learn the rules of the game and play them better than everybody else. One thing that I've learned about being around, I've had the opportunity, I represent some powerful people, billionaires, multimillionaires, been around governors, traveled with highly successful people. They all are very intelligent, but they grind, they work hard, they learn the rules of the game, and then they try and outsmart and outwork everybody else. There is no success without grinding. So be prepared to grind as you get out there in the world. You're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot, especially as an entrepreneur. Most of them do. So when you fail, don't ever quit, because you're only going to stop failing when you quit. Get used to it. It's going to happen over and over again. Keep moving forward. And you could fail at business. You could fail at friendships. You could fail at a relationship and go through a divorce. Your business can fail. You might lose an account. You might be going after a piece of business and lose it. You're going to fail. But you got to keep moving forward, because what separates successful people from unsuccessful people are those that keep taking the hits and move forward. There's a great philosopher. Some of you are young probably for this, but Rocky Balboa. He said, life's not about how hard you can hit, but how many hits you can take and keep moving forward. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to take hits, so be prepared to move forward. Set high goals and then ignore the doubters and the naysayers. Set very high goals. And the reason why is even if you don't hit the mark, you're going to land further than you would have if you had not set a high goal. So set a high goal. And when everybody says you can't attain it because it's ridiculous, use that to fuel your passion and your drive. Learn to deal with pressure. Pressure is a funny thing. It makes some people fold and others focus. Be one of those people who focus. And the best way to focus is to prepare. You can diminish pressure through preparation. I always tell my daughters that. They're worried about a big test coming up. Well, have you studied? Well, no, but I'm just really nervous. Well, guess what? If you study and prepare, the pressure will be less, and it's just like that in business. Weak people revenge, strong people forgive, and intelligent people ignore. You see this all the time, particularly in my business and politics. There's a lot of backstabbing. And people always want to go after the person that got to them. Or they want to try and make someone like them again after they have continually demonstrated that they do not have your best interests in mind. The more you can ignore that and keep moving forward and ask yourself, whether it be in business or in any other relationships, is my time worth being spent on trying to right this relationship? Is it making me more money? Am I moving forward? Am I becoming more successful? Ask yourselves those questions, because successful people have short-term memories. They move forward and don't waste time. And then finally, I'll leave you with this because my time is up. Getting the double zeros. This is, I actually have this on my desk. Yeah, we have a clock up there. So I actually have this on my desk in my office because it's I think, one of the most important lessons there are. And when I started to attain some level of success, I started to kind of throttle back a little bit because I had been working very, very long hours, very hard. I started to throttle back a little bit and kind of rest on my laurels. And I saw this quote one day, and it motivated me, and I've kept it on my desk ever since. But it's actually by Frank Sinatra, because he went through a lot of trials and tribulations in his career, a lot of ups and downs. And it says, when you think you're coasting, you're really going downhill. So don't rest on your laurels, because here's the deal. You take your foot off the gas in the business world, there is somebody going to come up from behind you and pass you. So don't coast. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, Nick. Well, thank you all for a great presentation, and I'd like to invite you all back up for a Q&A session. All right, my dear audience, during our Q&A, the speakers will keep their answers short, but they'll be around at their reception afterwards in case your question was not answered, not gotten to. And anyone with questions can approach the mic aisle in the middle, or you can tweet using your hashtag 7under30 and make sure you add Jim Moran School. And our Twitter monitors, right there, they'll be around to present your questions. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Freddie Triplett. I'm a student at FAMU studying computer science, and my question is targeted towards you, Vince. How did you find the problem of branding and using VR with it?
Yeah, so it's a good question. If you think about the ways that brands tell stories today, they use text, image, and video. And fundamentally, augmented and virtual reality offer a new medium through which to tell stories. And so if you think about, video is the last medium that we've used to tell stories that's been around since broadcast TV in the 1950s. And so, VR on one hand is incredibly immersive. So if you have a VR headset on, it tricks 3 of the 5 senses of your brain into believing you've been teleported to another place. So that's the power of VR, is the power of presence. The power of AR is utility and personalization. It's bringing products and objects and characters into your world around you, allowing you to try on sunglasses, hats, clothes, or put furniture or a car in your driveway, something like that. So it's really just using the camera as a marketing tool, and those things are there's technology enablement that's needed for those stories to be able to be told to a wide amount of people, and so it's important to be able to do that. For instance, on the web, where you don't have to download an app to have an experience. So that's a lot of the underlying tech that we provide. But it really came out of the need that brands had a problem around, they were spending a lot of money to develop this content because they thought it was cool and innovative, and they didn't have a way to distribute it. And that's kind of the problem that we saw. It started from a focus on analytics. My background's in analytics. And AR and VR are really interesting from an analytics perspective because it's the first medium where you can measure the entire experience, the entire user journey through the experience. So I thought that was interesting, but also kind of nerdy. And then I was looking at it saying, all right, well, what are the real challenges and problems? It's that brands need help distributing this content.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, so my name's James, and one of the things I was thinking of, I first thought of it when I was listening to Christy, then I started thinking about some of your other companies. If you have companies that are small, 7 employees, I think you said, how do you breed camaraderie and trust amongst so few employees? How can you maybe go home one day and trust that they're going to hold the fort down?
I'll start, if you started thinking about it. I think it's a very deliberate action. With us, even from the beginning, we actually had to put in systems in place to make sure that people bond, right? So bringing on new team members, and it's really corny stuff, but it works, and there's a reason that people do it, right? So bringing a new team member on, and they have to have lunch with everybody else, right? For us, it was a particularly challenging thing because we're also a remote company until this month. So doing that over the internet was more of a challenge, but it's still possible, right? So we use Slack, and we have a Slack channel for personal celebrations. We have a Slack channel for work-related celebrations. So if a customer sends you a nice email, if we hit a big milestone, it's a source for celebration. We have a monthly call where we're in 5 different time zones. Everybody gets up either at 7 a.m. or it stays until 7 p.m. that day. The guy in France gets a noon meeting. And everybody has to sit down and share something about their life. And this very deliberate sort of action makes sure that we gel as a team, because the idea behind your team is that they can produce more work than 7 people independently. And so if you take action to do it in a methodical way, it works.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Hello, I'm Julian Maxwell. I'm a senior and a commercial entrepreneurship major. This question is for everyone. How do you balance being in charge of your business and your personal life? And does your personal life suffer for it?
I'll do this one. This is a good one. That's one thing I wasn't able to touch on, but something that everybody should be aware is, the thing about being an entrepreneur is 9 to 5 goes out the window. With me in particular, most of my businesses are daytime brands. So everybody thinks, for my employees, they go home at 3 o'clock and that's it. Their day's over. But unfortunately, the problems don't stop, or you're always preparing for something else. You're constantly working on things. So there's times where I have to put my phone away at dinner and, things like that. I'm sure we've actually talked in depth about what it's like for each other, because we all have families and we all have to handle that in different ways. But when you have your own business, with entrepreneurial mind, it never turns off. I know mine doesn't. I'm always trying to stay ahead. Nick said probably the best thing I've heard today, which was, as soon as you stop hustling, it's over. Like, you always have to be looking at the next thing. When it comes to like site selections for us, now that we're moving out of the Tallahassee market, it's imperative that I'm looking, commercial brokerage, for instance, you have to know about things a year in advance. Like, if there's a new retail plaza being formed, that's going to have 20,000 square feet, and there's a new grocery store coming in that hasn't hit the market yet, and there's some really exciting tenants that are going to be moving in. By the time that building's built, more than often than not, it's 80% leased. So if you're good at what you do and you have a good track record, and your sales are reflective of success, you're going to get opportunities to do that stuff first. But the thing is if I don't answer that phone call at dinner, then I might lose it. You know what I mean? So it's reflecting that to your wife and your kids and your family. More often than not, they're going to be so supportive of you. There's just times where you have to rest, and you have to, take a break, because there's times where I'll be working on a problem or working on, figure out a solution for something, and I'll say, you know what? My wife will come in my office at home and she'll be like, you know what you got to do, right? Just go to sleep and just, come down. Let's talk. Let's, take your mind off of it and stuff like that. So I'm speaking from my own personal experiences, but, when I know my colleagues too, when they have children, you don't want to miss the big game, or you don't want to miss a certain event in their lives. And this kind of goes back to what the former question was, where you can't micromanage. You need to allow your staff to be able to make those mistakes, just like you're allowing yourself to make mistakes. And if you have something important on Friday and you can't make it to work, and you need to just trust your staff, because at the end of the day, your family is everything, and they're the ones that are going to have your back. Always, business comes and goes, customers come and go. You can't make everybody happy, but you always need to try and make your family and your children happy. So that's me personally. I don't know if anybody else wants to touch on that.
I'll piggyback off of that. I don't have a family right now, so I am, single, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever. But the thing that I always think about why you started it. And I think a lot of people start and they want to be entrepreneurs because they want freedom. So you didn't start a business to be tied to a computer or to work 24/7 all of the time. So there will be some days where you have to do that, but also know that there's going to be some days where you need to turn it off. For me, one thing that I do is I make sure that I'm scheduling time with my family and with my friends, and, to network with new people, just like I schedule time for my business. Just for me, I am a workaholic, but I don't want my business to consume my life, because that's not why I started it. So that's what I always think about. Go back to that.
So you put your personal time in your schedule.
There you go. Exactly.
Planning is
Yes.
huge. Like just like you would manage your time with your business, you also have to keep intact that you do need that personal time, because if your health starts suffering in personal ways, that will in turn affect your business. So, just always keeping time, outside of the business for your health, for other activities and travel, whatever it is that you enjoy outside of work is huge.
Yeah, recently in Entrepreneur Magazine, which is a great magazine if you guys don't get it, excuse me, they just had an article about the brain patterns and kind of behavior of the entrepreneur. They started linking up ADHD. They started bringing in mental health awareness, because a lot of us, I would think that my colleagues would agree that we constantly do our business because we love it. And, at the end of the day, it all falls on our shoulders, like somebody said earlier. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I literally am thinking about it all the time, just because I am so in love with it. And my spouse, knows that about me. But if you obsess over things, and there's a lot of anxiety in entrepreneurship, where you're trying to forecast problems and put them out before they happen. And the thing is that's why we've mentioned about mistakes and problems, like they're not going to go away. So you're better off just it sounds weird, but she nailed it. You have to schedule your free time. You have to, because your whole life becomes a schedule almost, so to speak. People need you. People rely on you. They need to know where you are. My assistant knows when I'm going on vacation, to be able to handle problems when I'm gone, So you'll be able to have people, as you grow, help you with making your life easier. But in the beginning, as everybody stated, it's challenging. So that's why I like coming here and speaking to people in a young age group, because this is the time to do it when you're fresh out of college. I agree with what someone said earlier, where get that work experience, but translate it and know that that coming up, you're going to use that all for your own advantage.
There's an author, Dr. Sherry Walling, and she has a PhD, and she's a brilliant person. She writes specifically about mental health and personal work-life balance for entrepreneurs. And Sherry Walling. And her books are really good. And she talks about a lot of this stuff. She talks about doing that health check and actually reminding yourself, why are you doing this, right? Like, you're not doing this to be miserable. You're doing this because you want to, and what are you doing wrong and what are you doing right? I would recommend that.
And to be honest, there's a lot of books upstairs that we saw in the room. You know, they've got a lot of gems up there. You know, so you know, don't be afraid to maybe cruise Books a Million and look for some really good, helpful tools like that, because there's a lot of successful people out there that have written books that aren't necessarily textbooks that might give you a new approach on how to look at things sometimes. So
I would say, so I have 3 kids, and I had my last 2 children while I was running my business by myself, and I took maternity leave. And it takes a lot of planning ahead of time, but I think for me that balance is the scheduling your own, your personal time is important. Choosing a spouse that is going to be supportive, but also be your accountability partner. So, my husband and I have kind of pivoted together through this journey of my business and its growth, and he'll call me out and say, okay, you've been on your phone, and you put your phone away. It's 5 o'clock. We're gonna have dinner or whatever it is. But I think it can be done. I think for women, the pressure is a little bit different because we eventually become mothers one day, and we have, some of that responsibility, especially if your spouse has a demanding job as well, falls on us. And so I've learned to find mentors that are women that are a few years ahead of me who have been through the having the babies, and the kids are a little bit older and have been, own their own businesses. That mentorship for me has been so beneficial. Having a support system of fellow business owners that also are in that same life stage is also important, because not only do they help with great ideas, but they also can be an extension of your accountability partners. But I will say it's not easy, but it can be done, and lots of women do that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Fox. My story is a little different. I'm a graduate from Old Dominion University. That's in Virginia Beach. My major was sports management. My minor was marketing. But I'm down here supporting my girlfriend through college at FSU. So pretty much I met her through starting my own business. I had aspirations of doing that. More so deals with like marketing. And my pitch is like, how can I help you help me today? So that's kind of what I walk up to people offering my help. But in that process, people don't really want to pay for help. They kind of want to use it more and just, hey, you helped me, thanks, Mike, or it's a memory or something. But I have produced my profits and things like that, but they're not producing the numbers that I would like to progress more. So then I'll have my friends, Facebook, high school friends, people you meet, and you're telling them like, hey, share like posts, they want to attend, they're acting as if they're a part of it. But I've come to find out friends are worse than strangers. So like, you meet a stranger and they'll donate, they'll, appreciate you. They'll see the passion you have for what you're trying to do, and they'll completely invest in you. So I was just trying to understand, in your opinions, if you felt like it would be better to almost waste time with your friends, or if it's better to reach out to the world and develop more business that way. And how could you, I guess, exercise that best, besides like Facebook and Twitter?
I think I will start answering that one. So with friends and entrepreneurship, it's a very sticky situation. And I often hear, my friends, if your friends don't support your business, that's not your real friend. Maybe your friend doesn't have money to support your business, or maybe they're going through something. For me, I always say, I just need my friends to be my friends. I don't need my friends to be my business partners. If I can call on you at 2 a.m. to bail me out of jail, and I know you'll do that, you're going to be my friend, So think about that when you make that statement regarding friends and business and how they're not supporting it the way that you want to. And then when you talk about getting more clients, one thing that I've learned in business is that people, especially with marketing, I can market my business and put it on social media all day. However, if they have not seen my work, or they have not heard somebody else rant and rave about my work, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to work with me.
Right.
Every single client that, I've gotten has been through word of mouth, through, previous clients. I market my business, yes, but I've never had a client that just, saw me somewhere and said, I need marketing, here, I'm going to pay you. It doesn't work like that. It's a steady progression. Building a relationship with people, and even if it doesn't equal out to money at first, If that relationship means something to you, continue to do what you can because you never know what you could get out of it.
And in a backfire to what you just stated, so if you do, I guess, get a surrounding that wants to work towards your cause, but they're not as motivated or dedicated towards you, how do you feel like you should coach them, or should you cut that tie off completely and refocus?
I'm very biased towards that question because right now I'm very selfish and I don't mind stating that. I'm not at a space right now where I can be the motivation that people have to provide for themselves. Sometimes, you let your well run dry trying to help other people. And, then what do you have to give to yourself, or what do you have to give to your business? And they're sitting there filled up, sitting back comfortable when they've just soaked you out of all of your energy, your resources, and everything without even a thank you. Right. So, no, I'm just very selfish
sorry
right
to
now.
ask so many questions. Then the last question, do you feel like it is best to, I guess, trademark your entrepreneurship, like license it before you work on it? Like you said, just start, but should you pay for it to have it branded before someone steals your idea?
I think everybody here will have very different opinions on that. For me, I make sure that I do that because that protects me legally if somebody tries to steal my name or anything like that. As far as trademarking, it's a lot more expensive, so you want to really make sure that you're in it for the long haul before you go that route. Right, exactly. But like I said, everybody up here will have very, different comments on that because we're all in different forms of business. For me, for a marketing agency and an online accessories boutique, there's nothing really that I have to trademark. I just need to make sure I LLC to make sure that I'm covered legally if somebody tries to steal my name.
For software, patenting your idea, no. If your idea is so easy that I can steal it, it's not a good idea.
Right.
Trademarking your product brand, your company brand, once there's value to it.
Okay.
If you're trademarking something that you just came up with that no one's ever paid for before, what are you trademarking?
Right.
But LLC, yes, definitely.
Yeah, definitely LLC. With me, I guess on the other side of the spectrum, it's the most important thing in the whole wide world for me. The first thing I had to do was trademark my logo and brand, and you'd be surprised if you can get a hold of a free consult with an intellectual property lawyer, and there's a couple good ones in town that will suggest, kind of let you know. If they don't think you need it now, they'll let you know. But if they do, then they will also let you know. For me, I've been involved in a couple cease and desists on the good side of it, luckily. For instance, I was recently involved with somebody who was called Canopy Cafe in Orlando, who I had to serve with a cease and desist. At the end of the day, with the valuation of my company being what it is, and I'm expanding in other markets, I can't have brand confusion. So, for instance, there was another issue where somebody was in town trying to open up Canopy Road Brewing or something like that. But even in the hospitality space, if anything says Canopy in it, like, I got it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's to the point where how did they, people were coming in the restaurant being like, why are you guys so crazy and you're opening a brewery? Like, you got enough on your plate. And I was like, what are you talking about? It wasn't even brought to my attention. Intellectual property lawyer that's on retainer for me said, hey, guess what? And it's all based on who was in business first and da-da-da. But I do agree that, you need to get your company to where it's worth something, to where you build up a name. Those sales that you're talking about, let's get them up. And then from there, when there's actually something to the business, some more meat in it, then you'll have to work. And then you just have to make sure that you're talking about the same space of the business. For instance, if somebody's called Canopy Cleaning Service, I'm not as, you know what I mean? You just have to, when you get to the point where, now, and it's not to, I'm very humble about it, but I'm fortunate enough to go in other markets. But now I have to start worrying about, if somebody's called this in Orlando and da-da-da, you know what I mean? So it'll come, with the emergence of your business. And as long as you keep worrying about, the root of it and building the actual business, that other stuff will come. But it's always good to get advisement on things like that. So intellectual property lawyer when the time comes would be my recommendation.
Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Isis, and no, not like the terrorist group. I'm a freshman at Florida State University, and I'm an undecided major, and sometimes it's hard to know, like, what you want to do in life, like, and I know I want to start a business, like, I know that. I want to have my own business, like, I love helping people, and I'm really, like, nice and welcoming, but, like, I don't know what I want to do, you know? Like, there's just so much to do, and it's just, like... Do you have any advice, like if you ever met someone who was in the same shoes as me, like any like mentoring advice or like getting out there to go to seminars or like things to get involved, like as far as educating myself more on things, because sometimes it's just hard to like do, you know?
So go ahead.
Are you involved in any clubs or activities here?
Right now, no, because like I work and I go to school, so it's kind of hard to do.
What do you do
that.
for work?
I do DoorDash, and it's like Uber Eats. But yeah.
So I would say.
Oh, and I do. Right now, I'm doing marketing for like Facebook and for this company, but I haven't made any sales yet. Like I got leads, but I haven't made any sales. So I'm working on that. I just started.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, really, just start writing down what are your strengths and what do you like most doing. Like whether you're going to these clubs and if there's a position available, are you able to do like a management type role, you know, figure out that's what you're strong in. Are you strong with the creative aspect of your Facebook and your, you know, managing these platforms, or are you better at, you know, more technical things or numbers? Like just find out where your strengths are, and then kind of with that, look at careers, look at other businesses that are maybe, you know, you're interested in, that you might start to build what you're most passionate about.
This is just my opinion, so take it or leave it. Don't blame me if I ruin your life. But if I was you, social media consulting. You already know you want to start a business. You're tech savvy because you're doing DoorDash delivery, and you already have a job where you're doing Facebook marketing. If you can get one client to hire you to fill up their Hootsuite, fill up their buffer feed, come up with some great content and some great assets, you now have a social media consulting firm.
That's what I've been trying to work on too. Like I like photography and stuff like that. Like I love social media, and I've been working on that too. It's just I like talking to people who are actually experienced. That's why I'm here, and I'm glad to meet you guys. But yeah.
I second her.
Don't overthink it.
Do it.
Literally everybody here needs somebody to fill up their buffer feed, right? And all you need is one client that hands you money to say that you have a social media consulting company.
Because that client will allow you the leverage to get another client, because now you have something to show the world. You know what I mean?
And from there, you'll see what other aspects of digital marketing you like. You might find that you actually really like search engine optimization. You might find that you actually really like the paid Facebook traffic. And then you're going to be able to specialize and increase your rate.
I would ask you, what do people ask you to do the most? Or what do people say when they say about you? What's something that they say the most?
Think about this.
Was that too deep?
Actually, I mean, I was always known for like being tech savvy and just my personality, just being nice and open up with people. Like I'm really good at that. So, I mean, other than that, I can't really think about.
This definitely sounds like a conversation that can take some time, that maybe you can have in the reception afterwards.
See me
after.
Yeah.
In the most polite way that I can, sorry. If we can keep these questions like very concise to the point, we have like a lot more questions, so we would like to let all the students get their turn. Thank you.
All right, my name's Sam. I'm a sophomore, and I'm in the entrepreneurship school. I have a question for Nick. I just started a business. I have like 54 subscribers on a page where I trade cryptocurrencies and foreign exchange. And the service I offer on this page is that I drop signals and calls which people can like enact, and they're all making money like right now. How do I start pricing it? Because I did the free one, so I get like the investors, and then so I have like a group of people that I can pitch to. Now that I've done that, how do I price the service I'm offering? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, Sam, not knowing much about the business, it's hard. I can tell you that when I started off in the service, right, in the service business like that, pricing your services is incredibly subjective. and you kind of learn as you go along. So I always tell people, like, when you first start out, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to underprice things. You're going to quote somebody a price, and they'll be like, okay, great, I'm in. I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
you know, hit them harder. So that's going to be a learning experience as you go along. And I mean, the best thing you can do is kind of do an analysis of what kind of value you're providing to these people. What kind of money, what kind of rate of return are they getting on your services? And then there will be a threshold. You know, what I would encourage you to do is push the envelope. So I've got, 13 lobbyists at my firm, and I'm usually pushing people to pay more. Like, my take on it is, and you're young, so you need to build up a little bit till you get to this point. But my philosophy on it is I want to be the premium brand, and you got to pay for the premium brand. And we work hard, and we get results, and we do well, and people, attain lots of success based upon the work that we do for them, and they got to pay for it. So I always shoot pretty high, and then a lot of times they'll balk and say, that's just too expensive. I'll say, well, there's a bunch of other people I can give you names for. They'll do it a lot cheaper, but you get what you pay for. So I'd rather keep my pricing high, but there's different market segments, obviously, a high, middle, and lower market segment. You got to see where you fit, and that's experience-based, results-based, those types of things. But that just comes with time and experience.
Right. But the way I do it is my buddies and I have coded a bunch of bots that just run the markets, and each of them are like 90% correct. So every signal we drop is pretty much like makes good returns. I mean, anywhere between like 0.14 and like 18%. But so what I'm trying to separate is two groups where people come in and they can do it free and see how much they can make, and then a new group in which I can charge probably not commission but like subscription based. But like, I don't know how I would separate the two, because making like different sets of calls.
Trial period. Give somebody a free trial period, but however many month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. I don't, depending on your business model, how that works. Right. But then let them know on the front end, if they want to keep going, here's the cost, and make the cost high, because if they see the value within the first month or two, they're going to want to keep going, because if the rate of return justifies the fee, they're going to continue on. You've got them on the hook. So that's, that's a good way to get people on the hook and keep them.
That's what I was looking for, the answer.
Trial period. Yeah.
Dropping gold on you, man. Just dropping knowledge. Given our time, we have time for 2 more questions.
Alrighty, my name is Mishat Cole, currently a junior, and I just had a short question. Do any of you guys recommend any books, blogs, or podcasts on generally starting a business, gaining traction, or just staying ahead in the game?
I was just talking to everybody up here and was saying how I love How I Built This by Guy Raz. Oh my gosh, I love that podcast. Yes, you need to listen to that if you're a podcast listener. As far as books, I think you were talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. As in regards to people that, it's like she was describing about financial education. A lot of people that think a house is an asset. Sorry, it's not. It's just it's in the debt column. That's why the first thing I want to do with my business is I want to pay it off as quickly as I can, so that it's an asset with a revenue stream bringing money to me. He really just teaches a lot about what they don't necessarily teach in school about financial health and understanding certain aspects of balance sheets and income statements and things like that. So kind of breaks it down into an easy kind of story-related method of thinking. So that would be mine. But there's so many. I'm sure so many.
I've got 2. This is more dealing with marketing and branding, which is obviously important dealing with business. Jonah Berger, he's a UPenn business professor. He's written 2 books. They're both short reads, both very good. First one's Invisible Influence, and the second one is Contagious. And they're very good reads.
I highly recommend Startups for the Rest of Us. I've mentioned the self-funded nature of this business, which is my second business, because that's something that I didn't know I could do with a software company while I was at Florida State, right? I thought that if you were self-funded, you were some other kind of company, and if you were a software company, you had to go the route of you're creating a business plan, you're creating a prototype, and you're getting an investor. Okay. And it was a really eye-opening experience for me. I'm not saying it's better, but it was something that's certainly different. It has led me down a really interesting path of exploration. Okay. And they talk a lot about customer acquisition. They talk about how do you make something out of very tiny, tiny resources? How do you generate revenue and reinvest that revenue into new investments? And I think it's really cool. I also have my own podcast. It's called WPMRR, and it's all about creating recurring revenue using open source products. So if you're into that weirdly specific interest, then...
Okay, that's awesome.
There's a good one. There's a book called Traction by Justin Mayers. It's all about, it's beginner to advanced, and it's all about all the things that you need to do to start a company and all the different digital marketing techniques you need, everything you need to have decent customer growth. But paints a good picture for anybody who's never built a company, or even if you have all of the blind spots that you have.
Okay, that's awesome. Anybody else?
I just recommend staying up with the trends with Forbes, Business Week, just always being ahead of the game by reading what's happening in the world, reading what's happening with business. So you can always learn something from one of those too.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It looks like this is the last question we have time for. And it's a Twitter one, right? On the tweet.
Ms. Glover, earlier you said some wise words about fear. So my question is, Sean Fife asked, what role has fear played in your decision-making process, for better, for worse, and what have you learned from that?
Okay, so we were talking about books, and there's this book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this book changed my life. She actually wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And there's one thing that she says in this book, and it's that fear is going to drive in the car with you. However, cannot be in the passenger seat. It needs to stay in the back seat, right? So to think that you're going to have a business or operate a business without fear is just not possible. And what I was speaking about is to not let that fear consume you. When I began to get fearful, I truly hone in on what it is that I'm trying to do, and I set my eyes more so on the end goal rather than the moment that I'm at right now before, I start everything. So with fear, it's just one of those things where people will be lying to you if they say you're going to be, fearless. It just doesn't happen like that. It's just how you move in spite of the fear, and that's going to be different for everybody. For me, it may be meditation, or it may be, practicing and making sure that I'm over preparing myself for certain things. And sometimes it's just jumping off of that ledge and just doing it no matter what. So there's many different ways that, different people interact with fear, but it's going to be there. I hate to break it to you guys.
Anybody else?
Yeah, what you said about fear really resonated with me. I almost cried because he saw it, because I had that experience when Caldera Labs really took off and we hired our first employee. I freaked out. I was like, I am now responsible for this man's life. He is working for us full time. He has a family. He has a wife. I'm serious. I was freaking out. I was like, who trusts me? I'm 24 years old. I can't even take care of my cat. How can we? I have this. And my business partner said, you need to go to therapy. Seriously. And it actually really helped. And it helped to talk through these fears and to realize what role they were playing in my life, right? This crazy story of I'm 24 years old. Who trusted me to do this? That was me trying to protect myself from failure, right? I was telling myself, well, if this fails, I was only 24. How could they trust me? And this story was bleeding into my actual management and my actual life and creating fear within my business. And I learned to stop doing that and to, like Ross said, put fear in the back seat and realize that I did get this business to where it is. And yes, not all of it is my own perspiration, but a lot of it is. And to believe in that and to just know that it's going to continue going. There's a fun saying that we tell each other now. It wasn't funny a year and a half ago, but it's funny now. We've been about to go out of business in 3 months for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I just want to say like one thing, especially because you guys are college kids, and I also do a lot of work with mental health. And I just want to tell you guys this because being an entrepreneur, you know, you are adding a lot more stress and anxiety to yourself. So be very careful with the stories you tell yourself about yourself. For me, I think being an entrepreneur and being able to get to that next level, it is a lot of positive thinking. And, you know, it's great that, you know, you're looking at all sides. But, you know, if somebody talks to you the way that you talk to yourself, you would not like that person at all. You would not be their friend. So be kind to yourself. Like, when you start to think a negative thought, automatically flip it, you know? And notice, you know, when your brain is being triggered to speak negatively about yourself. And that's one thing for me, and I learned that after college, because I told you guys I was living my best life while I was here. But I learned that after college. You know, there's so many things that can go wrong, and things will go wrong, but you know what? It's all going to be okay at the end of the day. So with fear, you know, just be nice to yourself. Like, love on yourself. Seriously.
I feel the passion. I feel the passion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Malone. Looks like that is our time for Q&A session. I urge you to all stick around for a reception afterwards, but...
What?
Okay, so we've got, Akash will hand around, this one's for you.
Oh.
And so,
thank you.
And we have, here, I shouldn't have given you yours first.
I
I'm
know,
going to
I was
ask for
thinking.
your help to pass these out here.
All right.
All right. So thank you so much to all of our great panelists and to Akash for being today's MC. We really appreciate it. You kept the good energy and kept it going. We hope all of you enjoyed it as much as we have. A link is going to be posted on the Jim Moran School's website if you want to view this again, because you might have missed some of these little nuggets as we went along. There's also a lot of other activities happening around Tallahassee this week because we have Startup Week Tallahassee going on. So check out the website, TallahasseeStartupWeek.co. And in the future, all the students, I invite you to stop by my office on the second floor here and in the Roderick Shaw building. What is this? Oh, that's so sweet. They're not from him. Okay, they must be from somebody else. Who could that be? That's very kind. Thank you. This has been great. This has been our first time here in this building, and I'm excited to be part of it. So thank you all. You were great. The seventh group of 7 under 30 right here. That's awesome.